Good evening and welcome. A happy Easter. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight, Christians in Nigeria and all over the world celebrate Easter, commemorating the resurrection of Christ as clerics call for peace and good governance. President Buhari condoles with the government and people of Sri Lanka over the tragic Easter bomb attacks in the Asian country. Ogun State Police Command detains 2 officers over another incident of extrajudicial shooting in the E4 area of the state. And bomb blasts in churches and hotels kill over 207 people in Sri Lanka's capital, Colombo. 8 suspects arrested. It is Easter Sunday, the Christian festival celebrating the resurrection of the Lord Jesus Christ from the dead. Also known as Resurrection Sunday, it is described in the Holy Scriptures as having occurred on the 3rd day after Christ's death by crucifixion on a Roman cross at Calvary. Easter is regarded by many as the foundation of the Christian faith, with Christ's resurrection signifying his victory over death, the triumph of good over evil, and the completion of God's salvation of mankind. Here in Nigeria, Christians are joining in the global celebration of the event with church services and prayers of thanksgiving. The joyful festivities are marked with lots of fanfare, exchange of visits by families, and visits to places of amusement and leisure. In all, the significance of the day remains on the front burner for Christians all over the world. We'll start our celebrations from northern Nigeria, where the Easter celebrations kicked off with church services, where the clergy called for better leadership in the country. The primate of the Anglican Church in Nigeria, in his sermon in Abuja, the nation's capital, advocated better governance, which he said will in turn result in more patriotism among the citizenry. Our correspondent, Kayla Megwa, reports.
Christians across Kaduna State joined the world to celebrate Easter Sunday, which they believe signifies the resurrection of Jesus Christ after his crucifixion over 2,000 years ago. For the resident pastor and the congregation at the Apostolic Church, the Easter Sunday service is expected to bring hope of good governance and unity in the land.
We have to live a life of sacrifice, and also we learn about love. There is no greater love than this, for a man to die for his friend. And also the life of forgiveness. If we can forgive ourselves, this nation will be at peace.
Delivering his Easter message, the Anglican Bishop of the Kaduna Diocese advises Nigerians to key into the resurrection power and compassionate spirit of Jesus Christ.
I want the federal government to know it is our responsibility, and the state government also to know it is our responsibility to cater for our citizens. If our citizens are living in squalor, they are living in hunger, they are living unprotected, then something must be wrong with our government.
At the Cathedral Church of the Advent Anglican Communion in Abuja, the primate of the Anglican Church Nigeria, in his sermon, urged Christians to focus on the impact of Christ's resurrection on the church. He stated that good governance is synonymous with patriotism.
They should not just scramble for office for the fun of scrambling for it. They should be seen to be showing self-denial. They should be seen to be showing selflessness, service, and dedication. This is what attracts patriotism in the life of the citizenry.
The General Overseer of the All Christian Fellowship Mission, Nigeria, also spoke on the redeeming power of Christ's resurrection, urging Christians to be masters of their circumstances.
There are some of us who, when we have any little problem, we threaten God with backsliding. We said, if you don't do this, I will backslide. As if you are doing God a favor by serving. You actually believe yourself a favor.
The death and resurrection of Jesus Christ is the foundation of the Christian faith. It is a time of celebration for the Christian faithful and reflection on the ultimate sacrifice, the life of the Son of God for the redemption of mankind. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
Christian faithful in the southern part of the country also trooped out to celebrate Easter, commemorating the resurrection of Jesus Christ, a symbol of victory over death. This report follows the mood in Lagos, Edo, Anambra, and Imo states.
At the St. Dominic's Catholic Church, Yaba, Lagos, parishioners troop out in their numbers to celebrate the resurrection of Christ. With hymns and songs, they express how much they appreciate the work at Calvary for the remission of sins. Speaking of the essence of Easter, the Reverend Father enjoins all to learn to make sacrifices.
What has changed in our lives? Change your old ways and take a new life. Jesus Christ is calling you today.
Other parishioners also share their Easter messages.
It's a period of reflection, sober reflection. It's a period that you think deeply why you're on earth.
I want people from different tribes to come together and love each other so we can take Nigeria forward.
The feeling of the season is also exhibited at the Holy Cross Cathedral in Edo State. Here, the sermon harps on the need to follow the doctrine of the Christian faith in everyday activities.
For us who say now, the Lord is mercy. We know, and it's true, that the only life that God approves is a life that does the will of the Father.
At the St. Joseph's Catholic Church in Aguleri in Anambra State, Governor Willie Obiano joins other parishioners to reverence the day. His counterpart in Imo State, Governor Rochester Okorocha, is also present with the congregation at the Victory Chapel, situated in the Government House in Owerri, where it's all about celebration with praise. Happy is the word that precedes Easter, and for these faithful, like others across the world, there are very few things more gratifying than celebrating the miracle of the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Here in Lagos, the senior pastor will be tackled until due attention is paid to job creation and human capital development. In an exclusive chat with Channels Television on the Easter celebrations, the clergyman also charged President Muhammadu Buhari to ensure he appoints the best hands in order to succeed in his second term in office.
When he shed that blood on the cross of Calvary, it was for your sin, my sin, and the sin of the whole world. It was voluntary, it was not assassination, it was atonement, and finally, it was substitutionary. That it died not only for me, it died as me. Insecurity is not new. We have been invaded from outside and from within. What do you think will happen to millions of jobless youth who have no way of providing for themselves? Crime will be the next option. So we need to create jobs and more jobs and more jobs. We have neglected the greatest asset of any nation, human capital. Our educational system had gone, down the drain. We need to revive all that. I read that they're given 300 certificates for universities. I'm just amazed. They are glorifying secondary schools. Let us solidify the ones we have. It's okay to start universities. It's okay to have private universities, but let's maintain standard. Your being insecure can become a threat to my security. I don't want to be a rich man in a secured island of prosperity in the midst of quicksand of poverty. Because those children we do not train and we do not equip will rise to fight. Almajiris will rise to fight. Area boys will rise to fight. And once the Almajiris in the north and the area boys in the south join hands together, we are not all saved. It's in our enlightened interest. I don't want to use self alone, corporate interest to ensure that there's a future for our young people and for the children.
President Muhammadu Buhari has commiserated with the government and people of Sri Lanka over the Easter Sunday bombings in the capital, Colombo. The president, who expressed shock and sadness over the terrible attacks on several churches and hotels, extended his condolences to the families of those killed in the blasts. While wishing a speedy recovery to those injured in the attacks, the president, in a statement, says, "We stand with victims of terrorism all over the world because we know and understand this harrowing, inhuman activity." The president offered an assurance that Nigeria stands with the people of Sri Lanka at this terrible moment and urges the country's authorities not to spare the wicked elements behind the attacks. I'll bring you details of the Easter bomb attack in Sri Lanka later in this bulletin. Another alleged incident of extrajudicial killing has almost resulted in a breakdown of law and order in the Yanokoka area of Ifo in Ogun State. According to an eyewitness who spoke to Channel Television, a team of police officers opened fire at a bus stop in the area along the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway, killing a young man while several other people were injured. Confirming the incident, the Ogun State Police Public Relations Officer says the policemen from Zonal Intervention Squad of Zone 2 Police Command claimed they had gone to arrest some armed robbery suspects when they were attacked. The Commissioner of Police in Ogun State, Mr. Bashir Makama, also confirmed to Channel Television that the policemen have been arrested and the incident is being investigated. The shooting is happening barely a week after a young man was shot dead by policemen while returning from a nightclub in Lagos, and barely 3 weeks after the fatal shooting of Kolade Johnson, also in Lagos. In the wake of extrajudicial killings and allegations of human rights violations carried out by some policemen, there have been calls for wide-range reforms, and steps are being taken in that direction. But are these reforms enough to solve the persistent problems in the Nigerian policing system? Our correspondent, Dare Idowu, spotlights the issues and efforts of having a police force in line with global standards.
The reform we are going to bring must address these issues because these issues have happened so much more.
With the police reform bill in the can, Nigerian lawmakers are hoping to make a law strong enough to structure a more effective police force fit for the purpose of preventing and detecting crimes.
That the police abide and enforce certain constitutional provisions, particularly fundamental rights of persons in police custody under Chapter 4 of the 1999 Constitution as amended.
Extrajudicial killings and allegations of human rights abuses, as seen in recent time, have further negated the popular saying, "The police is your friend." And the police boss is faced with the task of fixing the force's dented reputation, among other challenges.
I was going by my daily business this morning, and only for the police, Nigerian police, to accostom me. Look at what they did to me. Look at what they did to a pregnant woman. Where is that woman? All because of bribe. Look at what they did to her. Because of my money.
Larry Adedura, a filmmaker, and his friends say they have faced the fair share of police brutality.
He had started recording. I just heard the noise. So by the time I turned back, we saw the policewoman in the vehicle already beating the pregnant woman that way. So I went straight on Instagram live video to call on Nigerians to come to my aid, only for them to be enforced from a police station, Alagolo police station to be precise. And some of the officers happen to be officers I know because the station isn't so far from my home where I reside. So I felt, okay, I know this one. And the guy persuaded me and said, please, let's go back to the station and leave this mammoth crowd.
But when we got there, they changed the whole story. against us. In fact, they were even trying to like molest us inside the police station, even in front, in the presence of the DPO. So at this point, before we could know what was happening, they said we should be charged to court.
They can now wait to put this episode behind them.
So before we could know what was happening, they said court is closed, and the policemen came back. Right this time around, they insisted that we should be on handcuff. They handcuffed us and they headed to Kirikiri.
So, I mean, I can tell you that there are some persons serving or remanded in the prison today with another name, and their people are going to the prison to look out for their real name, but they won't find them because they're already bearing another name in the prison. So these are heartbreaking stories, you know, that I realized in the prison.
These stories and similar encounters with the police are the reasons why Nigerians continue to call for a responsive police force ready to discharge their duties in line with the values of fairness, justice, and equity. Daredo, Channels Television News.
In part two, after the break, we examine implications for the calls for removal of petroleum subsidy. And we're being joined by Channels TV's data consultant, Babajide Ogusowo, with another perspective. Please stay with us.